a conversation last week that I just can't stop thinking about. Someone incredibly talented, like really good at what they do, told me that they're afraid to call themselves an expert because they don't want to seem arrogant. And I realized we've gotten so focused on being relatable that we've completely abandoned being respected. We're downplaying our expertise, sharing every single struggle, making ourselves smaller, all because we think that's what connects with people. But here's what nobody's talking about: being relatable doesn't pay your bills, being respected does. People don't hire who are just like them, they hire people who are a few steps ahead, who have figured out something that they haven't, who have expertise that they need. And if your entire brand is built on, I'm a mess just like you're going to have a really hard time getting people to pay you. Today, I'm talking about the shift from relatable to respectable and why it matters and how to make it without losing your humanity. Because we can do both. You have to stop apologizing for knowing things. Let's dive in. Love it, hate it, or hate to love it. Social media has been dominating the marketing world for years, and today is no different. Hey there, and welcome to the Ultimate Hangout, where I dish out all of my juicy secrets of the social media world, growing your online presence like a pro. I'm Brandy, your go to girl in the digital universe, and I am beyond excited to have you join me for some serious fun as we explore the wonders of social media together. And for the past 5 years, I've been on a mission to uncover the tricks of the trade that not only work for me, but also help my clients shine in this digital world. So, what's on the agenda? Well, pretty much everything. From sharing tips on crafting killer content to demystifying those tricky algorithms, whether you're a seasoned pro or just dipping your toes into the digital pool. This podcast is your safe space to ask questions, share ideas, and learn alongside a supportive community. Grab that cup of coffee, cozy up, and let's get ready. Let's Be Social isn't just a podcast. It's a celebration of creativity, connection, and the world of online communication. Here's to learning, laughing, and leveling up together. This is your Let's Be Social podcast. Okay, so let me tell you more about this conversation I mentioned. I was talking to someone in my community who's incredibly talented. Like, she is really good at what she does. She's been doing it for years. She has results. She has expertise, real tangible expertise. But every time she posts on social media, she's downplaying it. I'm still learning, but here's what I think. I don't know if this will help, but I'm no expert, but. And I finally asked her, why do you do that? Why do you undermine yourself before you even start? And the answer, I don't want to seem like I think I'm better than everyone else. I want to be relatable. And that's when it hit me. We've become so afraid of seeming too confident, too successful, too expert that we're actively sabotaging our own authority because we think being relatable means making ourselves small. And that's just not true. Let me tell you something. You can be relatable and respected. You can be human and an expert. You can share struggles and your success. But somewhere along the way, we got this message that in order to connect with people, we have to constantly remind them that we're just like them. And here's what amplifies this. We've been taught not to be too much, not to brag, not to take up too much space, not to seem like we think we're special. So we overcompensate, we downplay, we self depreciate. We share every mistake and every struggle, every moment of doubt because we think that's what makes us relatable. And listen, I'm not saying you should pretend to be perfect, but I'm not saying that you shouldn't be human or vulnerable or real. But I am saying that if your entire brand is built on, I'm a mess just like you're going to have a really hard time getting people to pay you for your expertise. But here's the truth. People don't hire people who are just like them. They hire people who are a few steps ahead, who have figured out something that they haven't yet, who have expertise that they need. They want to relate to you as a human, but they want to respect you as an expert. And right now, I think a lot of us are focused on the relatable part, but we've completely abandoned the expert part. Let me give you an example of what this looks like in real life. I see so many entrepreneurs who share behind the scenes content that's all chaos. The messy desk, the unbrushed hair, the I have no idea what I'm doing energy. And look, I totally get it. That's real. That's human. It's relatable. But if that's all you're showing, what message are you sending? You're basically saying, hire me. I'm just as confused as you are. That's not compelling. That's not positioning yourself as someone who can help them solve their problem. Now, contrast that with someone who shares a mix. Yes, they show the reality of entrepreneurship for sure, but they also share their wins, their expertise, their confidence, and their results. They're saying, yes, this is hard. Yes, I have challenging days, and I've figured some things out that I can teach you. See the difference? One is relatable but not respected. The other is both. And here's what I've noticed in my own business. The more I stepped into my expertise, the more my business grew. Not because I stopped being human or vulnerable or real, but because I stopped apologizing for knowing things. I stopped prefacing every piece of advice with, I'm still learning or I don't know everything, but. Because you know what? Of course, I'm still learning. And of course, I don't know everything. Nobody does. That's not the point. The point is, I know more than the person who's asking for help, and they don't need me to constantly remind them that I'm not perfect. They need me to confidently share what I know so that they can learn from it. And when I made that shift, when I started owning my expertise instead of downplaying it, everything changed. People started taking me seriously. My sales increased. I was able to charge more. I attracted better clients, not because I became a different person, but because I stopped making myself smaller than I actually am. Can we talk about why we do this? Why we're so afraid to be seen as experts. I actually think that part of it is imposter syndrome. We feel like we don't know enough yet to call ourselves experts, like there's some imaginary finish line that we just haven't crossed yet. But here's the thing, you know more than someone who's a few steps behind you, and that's enough. You don't have to know everything, you just have to know more than the person you're trying to help. Part of it is also fear of judgment. If you position yourself as an expert, people might question you. They might challenge you. They might expect you to have all the answers. And that can be scary. It's much safer to hide behind, I'm just figuring things out too. But safe doesn't build business. Safe doesn't create income. And safe does not help the people who need what you offer. And part of it, and this is a big one, is that we've been taught that confidence can come across as arrogance. So we've learned to soften everything, to qualify everything, to make ourselves smaller and more palatable. But you know what? The people who think that you're being arrogant for owning your expertise, they weren't going to hire you anyway. The people who need you, who are looking for someone to help them, who are ready to invest in themselves, they want you to be confident. They want you to own your expertise. Because if you don't believe in yourself, why should they? So here's what I want to challenge you to do. Stop leading with all the things you don't know and start leading with what you do know. Stop apologizing for your expertise. Stop downplaying your results. Stop making yourself small because you think that's what's being relatable actually means. You can share your humanity without undermining your authority. You can be real about the challenges without making it seem like you have no idea what you're doing. You can be vulnerable and confident, human and expert, relatable and respected. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. Let me give you some practical ways this might show up. Instead of, I'm no expert, but here's what worked for me. Try, here's what I've learned after working with dozens of clients. Instead of, I don't know if this will help, but try, this strategy helped my clients get X results. Instead of, I'm still figuring things out, but try, here's what's working right now. See how the second version doesn't downplay your knowledge, but it's still honest and real. You're not pretending to be perfect. You're not claiming to know everything. You're just not apologizing for knowing something. And here's what I have found. When you step into that confidence, when you own your expertise, when you stop making yourself small, the right people are attracted to that. The people who want someone who's just like them and hasn't figured anything out. They're not your ideal clients anyway. They're not ready to invest. They're not ready to take action. But the people who are ready, they're looking for someone who's confident enough to guide them, someone who's been where they are and made it to the other side, someone who has answers, not just questions. Those are your people, and they need you to show up as the expert that you are. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but Brandy, what if I don't feel like an expert? What if I still feel like I'm figuring things out? Here's what I want you to understand. You don't have to feel like an expert to act like one. Confidence isn't a feeling you wait for, it's a decision you make. You decide to own what you know. You decide to stop apologizing. You decide to position yourself as someone who has valuable knowledge to share. And then you do it. Even when it feels uncomfortable, even when the imposter syndrome is screaming at you, because the alternative is staying stuck in this place where people like your content, but they don't hire you, where you're relatable but not profitable, where you're playing small because it feels safer. And I don't think that's what you want. I think you want to build a real business, one that pays you well, one where you're respected for your expertise, one where you can actually help people at the level you're capable of. And to do that, you have to be willing to be seen as an expert, even when it feels scary. Here's something else that I want you to think about. When you make yourself small, you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting the people who need your help because they're out there right now looking for someone to guide them and they're scrolling past you because you're not positioning yourself as someone who can help them. You're hiding your expertise behind relatability and they can't see what you're actually capable of. So, stepping into your authority, that's not selfish. That's not arrogant. That's service. It's saying, I have something valuable to offer, and I'm confident enough to share it with you. The people who need you deserve to see the full, confident, expert version of you, not the watered down, apologetic, I'm just like you version. So let the relatable at all costs version go. The version of you who owns her expertise, who's confident in what she knows, who positions herself as a respected authority in her field. That's the version who's going to build what you're trying to build. Trust me on this. I've been on both sides, and the business I've built since I stopped apologizing for knowing things is not even comparable to what I had before. And if you're ready to step into the expert version of yourself, but you need support doing it, if you need a community of people who will help you own your authority instead of downplaying it, that's what we're doing in the Rise Up Lounge. We're not about playing small. We're not about apologizing for success. We're about building businesses where you're respected for your expertise and you get to be fully human. We help each other step into our authority, price ourselves appropriately, position ourselves as the experts that we actually are. That's where you need to be right now. Come join us. The link is in the show notes. Thanks for being here and thanks for letting me challenge you on this. So until next time, remember, you can be relatable and respected. You don't have to choose. Let's keep being social. Okay, everyone, give yourselves a huge pat on the back for being part of another fantastic episode of Let's Be Social. Time sure flies when you're having fun diving into the world of social media together. If you want more, make sure to head over to my Facebook group where I continue this conversation, I share insights, and we support each other on our social media journeys. You'll find all the details in this episode in my show notes at successonsocialmarketing.com, so be sure to check them out. Remember, learning doesn't have to stop here. Keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the digital world. And if you ever need a helping hand or some extra inspiration, you know where to find me.